always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin.
Very,
You
very
get out
exciting.
what you put in. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. It's like Christmas. Caroline Hobden, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm buzzing. It's like 6 weeks away. I've booked
it's
mid
not far.
parking, hotels all booked. Oh my goodness. How excited are you?
Very excited. I think it's like 4 weeks away. So it's just
No, don't tell me
crazily-
that.
I
Don't tell me
know.
that.
I
Don't
know.
tell me that.
It's coming around. Accountex London is coming around the corner.
Boom, boom. It says 15th and 16th of May there. So it's like my little heart's going now. You send me an email every single week, don't you? And in that email, it says, this is what I want to talk about this week on the show. And I'm looking at this, and how on earth can you squeeze all of that into Accountex? So you are a magician, Caroline Hobden.
Oh, we have our ways. We have our ways. But there's so much to announce today. There's so much more to come in the next few weeks. It's just thrilling. It's the best bit about our job, I promise you.
Excellent. So come on, spill the beans. What have we got to
Okay.
shout about this week?
Well, look, let's first of all shout about your incredible guest today, Mo Kanjilal from Watch This Space. She is absolutely wonderful. We've been working with Mo and her business partner Allegra for over a year now, and they are our official DE&I partner. And she is fresh off the presenting stage herself because she did a TEDx on Friday in Brighton, which I was lucky.
Oh my goodness, I'm not worthy.
She absolutely nailed it.
Oh,
There
cool.
should have been a
Well,
mic drop at
obviously.
the end. It was so good. So yeah, we could not be more
Wow.
thrilled to work with Mo. She has so much incredible knowledge. She's going to be speaking at the show. She's going to be speaking at Accountex on empowering voices, why equality equals success for your firm. And
Brilliant.
her partner Allegra is going to be speaking about what you need to know about neurodiversity. So two incredibly important topics that we can't wait to introduce. Some other things that we wanted to talk about today, things that are going to be happening at the show. Now, we were very taken aback last year. We had, for the very first time, a mindfulness doodle wall, which is very important. It's a little bit of a distraction. You can take yourself away from the hubbub of the show and just get artistic. And boy, our accountants and bookkeepers artistic. They were incredible. This wall was practically full at the end of day one. So we've brought it back. I think it's a lot of fun and it's a little bit of respite from the show for everybody. Another exciting place where you can go and relax for a little bit and charge your phone in the creatively named Relax and Recharge Zone, sponsored by
a lot of time spent on that one.
I know, it's very inventive, but our good friends at Inflow are sponsoring that one. And another initiative that we're running this year is a wellness retreat. So we all know that walking around a big show like Accountex is quite exhausting. And you might need an energy boost. So why not come along to the wellness retreat and enjoy a revitalizing 10-minute massage, shoulder massage, the courtesy of our partners on that event, the Community Massage Project. For whatever donation you care to give, they will then pay that forward and they will give wellness treatments to those in hospices and further charities. I feel like you might have a big question for the wellness treat, guys.
I've got a huge question. I'm hosting the LinkedIn Lounge for the whole duration, so I'm not going to have chance to go over. Do you reckon they do roaming massaging, Caroline? Is there any way you can pull a string or two?
Actually, you're one of the most persuasive people I've ever met. So I'm pretty sure that if you put a word in, they might be able to come and help you out. But yeah, but do check it out. It's a wonderful area. And finally, we have a hybrid working zone. I know a lot of people don't like to leave their laptops at home. If you've got something you need to catch up on, bring your laptop along. The hybrid working zone in partnership with Iris is going to be the perfect place for you. So there's a lot going on, and believe me, we've not finished yet. There's lots more to announce in the coming weeks.
So here's another question for you. Have they built an extension on the Excel to squeeze all of this in? It's like, how have you done it?
Oh, we just get very creative. We get very creative, but I think they are actually building an extension of Excel. So we might have to move into that as soon as they've done it. But yeah, there's lots going on.
Amazing. Caroline, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on and telling us all of that. I'm going to kick you out because I'm dying to speak to Mo to find out all about this that she does. So, Caroline, cheerio.
Before I go, though, Ashley, would you like just me to tell you quickly who's going to be on next week?
Good job. Someone's on the ball, isn't it? Go on. I've got a slide prepared as well. I would have done it at the end, but yeah, go on. Talk about these amazing guys.
It's our wonderful friends, Johan and Aaron, who are from Ask the Accountant. They are going to be hosting our podcast pit stop at the show. So they're actually going to be doing live interviews at the show. They do their famous grid walk where they walk around interviewing everybody before the show opens. It's just not to be missed. They're incredible guys and they know so much about the profession as well. I mean, you are going to have an incredible show next week and I just need to leave you alone for today's show.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Thank you, Caroline. And I will see you next week. Cheerio.
Take care.
Mo.
Hello.
Hey, that was a big introduction, wasn't it?
I know, it was, wasn't it?
Hey, hang on a minute. You're a TEDx speaker?
I can now say I'm a TEDx speaker.
Right.
Yeah, it was on
After
Friday.
the show, we need to have a little chat. But well done you. Well done you. For anybody that hasn't a clue who you are, please introduce yourself, Mo.
Yeah, so I'm Mo Kanjilal. I'm co-creator of Watch This Space, and we're a diversity and inclusion company, and we help people work better together. And actually, this month is year 4 of Watch This Space. We launched it in the middle of lockdown in the pandemic. That's when we launched the business. So yeah, we're 4 years old this month.
Wow, congratulations. I celebrated my 3rd birthday this week as well. So yeah, I know what it's like when you're trying to get a new business off the ground. Watch This Space. That's a great name for a company.
Thanks. Do you know what? The annoying thing about the name is, so I have a business partner, Allegra, who's speaking at the show. So we'll talk about that a bit later. But it's actually her husband who thought of the name, which is a bit like, oh, I wish one of us had thought of it. But it was Allegra who dropped the A in space, so made it a bit different. So we still claim that it was us.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it doesn't matter. It's a great name. It's a great name. So, inclusion. How did you get into all of that then, Mo?
So I used to work in corporate, in big technology corporations, where I progressed into senior management roles, but most people there didn't look or sound like me at all. So it wasn't an environment where there was lots of different types of people. So that's where my interest in it came, because I learned that you could recruit somebody, perhaps a young woman, to join the company, but then if they had a bad experience, they would leave quite quickly. So you really needed to embed inclusion across the organization. So I was already interested in it. Allegra was already interested in it too. She was running sort of women's networking groups for women in tech. We met because we were both invited to speak on a panel discussion quite a few years ago. And she was the other guest on the panel, and we found that we had loads in common. So that's when we started sort of talking to each other and working together. And yeah, as I say, it was in lockdown that we then said, let's do this, let's start a company.
Wow. What was it like starting a company in lockdown? Because we didn't know what was going to happen, did we?
No, it was a weird time to do it, but it also, in a way, it gave us something to focus on, because we could only leave the house for an hour a day at that point.
I know.
So it meant that we could actually be on Zoom and like trying to figure things out, and it gave us something to do. So I think it was good, and it also then set the tone for how we work. So we work remotely. We're happy to use technology. You know, all of those things that we the way we work came from us starting in lockdown. And actually, a lot of people started businesses in lockdown.
They did. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we were busy working for the big corporates and thinking, I'm at home now. I could be doing this. I could be doing that. Why don't you know? And I think before lockdown, right? I was talking to a solicitor during lockdown, and a big practice down here in the Southwest. And they'd been talking about hybrid working. They'd been talking about working from home forever. And the senior partners would all jump in a meeting and they say, "Oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that." No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And they never got it to work. Lockdown came along. They did it in a week. And it's funny, isn't it? And I guess you see this in what you do. Because organizations, they don't have an inclusion policy. They don't have a diversity policy. And you come in, and so tell us, what are the biggest obstacles you're facing when you're talking to people?
So it was during lockdown where we saw companies who had previously said, "Oh, you can't do that job remotely." they made it work overnight. We saw the radical change that sort of happened overnight, really, and during that time. So when we work with companies now, I'd say that the thing that we say is the leadership team have to want to do this. It cannot be just a couple of people doing it as a side project on top of their day job. It has to be that the leadership team brought in, the whole organisation wants to work on this. And where people usually struggle, and in fact, this is where we started as well. When we were in lockdown, it was then the summer of 2020 and all of the Black Lives Matter protests. And what we saw was businesses not knowing how to respond. So they didn't know whether to post a black square on Instagram, but then what? So they didn't do anything at all, but then not doing anything at all made it worse in a way, because then they weren't responding. So what we do right from the start, we're all about helping people to get started and figure out what they need to do. So we do something called inclusion journey mapping, which is where you can do the first level for free, and then you get some data that shows you where you need to focus. And then we work with companies on what they need to do and changes they need to make it. And what we see the obstacle is not knowing where to start, not knowing what to do. Or perhaps they started doing something and it's stalled. Those are the things that we see.
I would guess that the biggest problem that we all have, because we don't know, we're worried about doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, people are worried about doing the wrong thing, and they're worried about saying the wrong thing. So in our first bit of work that we do, the discovery time, we have these workshops, discovery workshops. And in one bit of it, we say, right, what is the terminology or acronym that you're struggling with? You know, where do you get stuck with knowing what to say? And there's usually like a moment where they go, oh, thank goodness we can just like talk about it, like a relief moment where we can get all of that out into the open. And I think those things really help people, because people feel scared to say the wrong thing, so they don't know. It stops them from doing anything, I think.
No, absolutely. I'm just going to say hello to John, because he's popped in to say hello. So good morning to you, John, as well. Thank you very much for joining us. If you've got any questions for Mo, then please fire away. Now, my other question for you is TEDx. What was it like?
Oh gosh, it was the most amazing experience. It's something I've always wanted to do, and it more than lived up to it. So I loved every minute of it, from stepping onto the stage. I came off the stage, I was like, I want to do that again. It was like, it was amazing, but it's quite a process of like really working on what you're going to talk about, because you have to have really nailed that, and you've then got to know the talk inside out, so that you can deliver it as if you're talking, not as if you're like reciting something. It's got to look like you're just talking to people. So there's quite a lot to do to really work on it, but that we worked with the curator worked with us on our talks. And there's also like a story of the day, so all of the talks kind of link to each other in a way as well. And that was also brilliant. Like getting to know all the other speakers was amazing too.
Brilliant. And when you talk to normal people, okay, the last thing they ever want to do is stand on stage and talk, isn't it? And how many talks are you doing at Accountex?
I'm doing two. Well, I'm doing a talk and a panel.
Yeah. Me too. And you know, you talk to the average person, and I don't know if you've seen any of these stats, but more people are afraid of public speaking than they are dying.
Yeah.
You know, there's spiders in there and snakes and other things, but yeah, public speaking is really, really high on the list.
Yeah.
Why do you like it?
I love it. So when I was a child, I was shy, and my mum sent me to drama classes. And so really we can say blame her, really. I went to drama classes. And I think from the moment of going to drama classes, I always loved it. I just really enjoyed it. And I like sort of getting a message out to people. I like the reaction you get. You know, I love all of that. And but I am aware that for most people, they're terrified of it. So I don't know about you, but when I got married, like my husband didn't want to do a speech. My dad didn't want to. His best friend didn't want to, like nobody. So I did the only speech at the wedding.
Wow, no way.
Because also I didn't want everyone to feel stressed about having to do a speech and not enjoy the day. And I was like, oh, I'll love it. I'll really enjoy it. So I did the only one. So I think I've always just enjoyed, I guess I'm a show off. I enjoy like talking to people about things.
Why
and they
not?
have to listen to me.
Yeah. You made a mistake. You said blame mum. I think we should thank mum. Because
I'll tell her that.
well, but that's the thing, isn't it? I think we're all shy. I was exactly the same. I couldn't say boo to a goose when I was a kid. And it's doing all these things and just stepping outside your comfort zone. So your TEDx talk was about, is it the same talk that you're doing at Accountex?
No, so at TEDx, I talked about the fact that we need to all understand and recognize each other's differences, and not hate somebody because they've got a different opinion to you, like how we need to understand people. But no, slightly different at Accountex. Shall I tell you what I'm talking about?
No, please, but don't give it all away, because we want them to
No,
come. We want them to come to
I'll
your
just
talk.
sort of say what's already available. So the first, I'm doing a panel discussion, which is empowering voices. So why equality is success for your firm. And I'm going to get the names right. I'm going to be joined by Zara Rayman, Sobi Hariharan, and Kaylee Graham. And we're going to have a conversation, so with some questions that I'll be asking them about that. And then I'm later that day doing a talk, which is Beyond the Buzzwords, Discover Why You Need to Take a Diversity and Inclusion Journey. And in that talk, I'm going to kind of demystify some of the terminology, as well as saying, like, why does this matter for your business? Like, why do you need to do this?
And I think that's the biggest problem. We're just scared of it, so we sort of like put it on the too difficult pile and never touch it. So what sort of businesses are you working with, Mo?
So we work with quite a range of businesses across sectors. So we work with technology companies, we work with hospitality, education, local councils, as well as professional services companies as well. So quite a range. Some charities as well, sort of larger charities as well. When we started the business, because my background was in tech and so is my business partner, we thought most of our clients would be in that sector. But actually, as we've grown, it's really spread across sectors. So when people say, what's the niche you go for? We say, well, it's at our niche is companies that want to change and grow. Like that's the niche. It's not a particular sector as such.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking predominantly here accountants and bookkeepers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that are coming to Accountex, listening to this on the podcast or watching live today, they are running. Some of them are running small practices. There might be 2, 3, 4 members in the team. Do they have to worry about inclusion and diversity, or are they sort of like saying this doesn't bother me because I'm too small? What is your take on that, Mo?
Everyone needs to work on this. So, and the reasons are that more inclusive organisations are more successful. There's loads of data that shows that. And it's because if you work on inclusion, it means you understand the people that you want to reach. You know how to work with different types of people. You know how to communicate with different types of people. You can understand, different. So, an accountancy practice that's working with clients in different sectors. If you work on this, it means you can understand those businesses better. So we say to people, even if you're only a company of one person, it's something to think about, because also you might grow. And as you grow, you want to bring different people in and sort of recognize how to work with different types of people.
So what you're saying, it's not just your team, it's also your customers, your clients, and business partners.
It's everything, because it's about your strategy, your communication, how you work, the processes you use to work. So for an example is, if you have meetings, are you sure your meetings are inclusive? Because if they're not, then you're not going to get the contributions from everybody that you want in a meeting. You have to think about how to do that. So it crosses all sectors, all areas of the organisation.
Wow. Okay. So I'm listening to this show and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, never really thought about that. Let's get Mo in. What do you do if we hire you? How does it all work? What's the package or the program? What do you do with our firm?
So the first thing is to take the first stage of our inclusion journey mapping, which is free. It's on our website. That's the first step, because then people can put their information in and get an idea of where they need to focus. And then we follow up from there and say, right, okay, so having seen this, let's have a look at these areas. So if people go through our inclusion journey mapping, we work through stages with them on the things that they need to work on. We also provide training. So some companies do come to us just for training, and that's how they start working with us. And then it might be that they do a training course, and then that leads them into doing inclusion journey mapping. So we find most people do want to do that, because they want to get that overview of, like, where do I need to prioritize? Where should I focus my attention? So step one is just to do that free first level, and then that gets people started.
Brilliant. And we can put that in the show notes as well. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, just click on the link below and you'll be able to go and see that.
Yes.
Now, okay, so what's the biggest question that everybody asks you, or the most popular question that people ask you, Mo?
Biggest question people ask us is, where can we start? Actually, they say, what can we do to start, because we don't know what to do. So we include in that level 1, there's always some quick wins, because we make sure that there are always some quick things you can do, because if you don't do that, then people get frustrated that everything's long-term work. You need to show people, actually, there's some things you can do right now. And there usually is some simple things that people can just start doing, and that helps them then to maintain momentum. And that's the other bit of it, is like not getting started and then it tailing off. It's like, how do you maintain the work carrying on and the momentum? And there's another link here as well. We've written a book called The Inclusion Journey, which is going to be published in August, and that takes you through that inclusion journey.
That's exciting, isn't it? Writing a book.
Yes, very exciting.
How long has that taken you, Mo?
Do you know what? It didn't take us long. We started writing it in October, and we finished writing it by the end of February, and then it's with the publisher now. So there's sort of various things, discussions with them about edits and things. But yeah,
Sure.
It didn't actually take us that long to write it, which is surprising. When we talk to other people, they're like, "Oh, it took so long to write a book." It didn't actually take us that long.
A friend of mine took us 6 years to write her book. But look, you get a book in the end, and that's the thing. And it's the same with what you do. You know, if I'm running a huge organization with, 100, 200, 300 staff, thousands of clients, then it's going to be a little bit harder work to work with you than if it was just me and my business. But we have to start, don't we?
Yeah, everyone has to start somewhere. And so I'd say we mostly work with organizations that have about, it varies actually. I say most clients have a sort of 100+ employees, but we do also have people we work with that are much smaller than that, where we just work on much smaller scale work of where they can get started.
No, brilliant. So anybody can download this what do you call it?
Yeah, inclusion journey mapping. Go to
the journey mapping. Yeah, so we can
watchthispace.uk. It's on the front page. Yeah.
Fantastic. You've got to make it easy for people, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's the thing. So you say there's some quick wins. Are you happy to share some of those quick wins for people that are listening right now? Because there are certain things that we can all do.
Yeah, the kinds of things that we might suggest as a quick win is if we look at someone's website or social media and we see they're sharing videos without subtitles, that's an example of a very quick and simple win that people can do. Sometimes we'll look at their communications information and it has too many acronyms. And so we'll say, right, okay, you're not going to reach people if you have all these acronyms. So we'll help them with that. We might look at a job advert and say, job advertising. Oh, it's a whole subject in itself. But sometimes we see job adverts and they say, oh, but they're not applying for our jobs. And we look at it and we say, well, obviously they're not applying for your job. It's full of acronyms. All the photos are of the same demographic of people. You haven't said what it's like to work for you. You haven't brought it to life for anybody. So those are often some of the quick wins as well, where we can say, look, we can make a very big change by just changing some of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Dead easy to do. Now, if you're watching this live, LinkedIn automatically put the subtitles on. So
yes,
that's
they
absolutely
do.
superb.
Yeah.
And again, photos, put in the alt text on there as well.
That kind of thing as well. Yeah.
That's
kind of thing too.
That's pretty simple to do as well.
Yeah. And all the videos for Accountex are being recorded and they'll all be subtitled, which is brilliant.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fantastic. So the thing is, right, because there's so many talks going on, there's 13 different theatres. So it's a physical impossibility to see every speaker. So if people can't come and see you or me speaking, they'll be able to watch it back on the recording, which is absolutely superb. And so what's Allegra talking about then?
So Allegra is talking about neurodiversity. So she specialises in that. So her talk is to help people understand it and also to give people practical advice to understand how to work with people who are neurodiverse, but also some tips and advice if you think you might be neurodiverse and the kinds of things you might want to think about if you think you are, because actually when we do training on it, so Allegra leads on that, often there'll be people who'll want to talk to her afterwards and say, I'm not sure, but I think, maybe I need to look at it. And actually, a lot of the advice for working with people, we always say this, we're not taking anything away from anybody and it's not a specific thing. It actually makes work better for everyone. If you can share more information in advance, for example, give people more time to read things like interview questions, sending them in advance, it actually makes it all better for everyone. So it's not about taking anything away from anybody.
Okay. And so your company does all of this as well?
Yeah, so that's it's one of our training courses, but actually it's part of the inclusion journey mapping as well. We look at areas around that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a huge thing that we just take for granted or ignore. And so you're coming in and you're helping us with all of this.
Yeah.
What are the biggest mistakes that you see that you sort of like, you do a face palm and you go, oh my goodness, that's ridiculous. What are the biggest mistakes that wind you up?
They say, yeah, none of us have got time to work on this, but this person who has these other roles will do it in their spare time, but we've also got no budget to put to it either. Can you help us? And we're like, I think we need to have a different conversation, because no, that's probably the biggest thing, where people don't see it as a central part of their strategy. They see it as a side thing, or they'll say something like, can you give us just some quick things to make it all change? And it's like, no, we can give you some quick things to do that will make some change, but if you want to do this, you've got to commit to it and say, we're going to put time and resources and budget to this.
It's a bit like, run with me on this analogy, right? It's a bit like pat testing. If I'm running a business, I've got to have all of my electrical things pat tested. So a man comes in or a lady comes in and they check everything electrically, and they put a little sticker on everything that's electrical. So I've ticked that box. And it's not a tick boxing exercise. What you do, it runs deeper, doesn't it?
Yeah, it runs much deeper than that. And it's also, that's the other thing we get asked, when will we know it's done? And it's like, well, it's never done.
No.
There's always going to be more things to do and more things to think about. And I think it's that repositioning of people's thinking that this is central to the business, and it will, there are benefits, proven benefits. It will mean that people want to work for you, that what people want to stay working for you. They're more engaged, they're more creative, they're more, innovative with new ideas, and that all translates into higher profits and productivity as well. So it's like, we want to do this because it's the right thing to do, but there's all these reasons as well why it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, so we've put this new bit of software in because that's going to help us do this, this, and this, and then we'll make more money. We've bought this new bit of plant, and that's going to help us make things a lot quicker, and that will help us make more money. And you're coming in now and doing the diversity and inclusion, and that's going to help as well. Have you got any stories that you can share with us of how you've worked with a company and they've gone from being mediocre to being hugely successful?
Yeah, we've got loads actually, but there's a really good example, which is a hotel we worked with, and you can find the case study on our website, Richmond Hill Hotel, who they already had, quite a diverse workforce, but more in the sort of front of house roles, not so much in the leadership team. So we worked with them, we did the inclusion journey mapping work with them. They were brilliant because they really took it on board and got on with the actions and had different people working on different areas. And then we did a training program with them over the course of a year where we met everyone, literally every role, chefs, bartenders, we met everybody, and we did training with them. And that has resulted in quite a dramatic increase in their retention of employees. I don't know if I can remember the exact stats, it's on our website, but I think it's gone from something like 40% to about 75%, something like that. It was like a big increase, because before that they were losing employees, people were leaving, but now they've seen a huge increase in people wanting to stay there because they feel like they're understood, they're included, they can make suggestions. With a hotel, one of the things is that they might experience behaviour from guests. It can often be that way. So it's quite interesting working with them and working with them on how they could start to tackle that if they experience discrimination from a guest. You can imagine some of the stories that they had to tell about that. Yeah. So yeah, that's been really successful.
Yeah, I come from a hospitality background, so I know what it's like, and churn, and I live in a seaside town, and so I've got friends that work in hospitality, and I know they're always struggling to get team members. So yeah, that's interesting. And if we can do that in a hotel that is notorious for staff churn and difficult guests and clients and what have you, then in an accountancy and bookkeeping practice, it's just brilliant. It makes absolute perfect sense.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it really does.
Awesome. So you're going to be coming and doing a talk. Have you got a stand or anything there as well?
Yes. Oh, have we got a stand? Let me tell you about the stand.
Okay.
Right. So we're running the quiet zone. So if you need to take a breather and you need to have some space, we're running that part of the show. So come and see us. So as well as the quiet zone, where you can just sit down and quietly have a catch up. It's not a place to go and make all your phone calls. It's for quiet reflection. And then we'll have a stand there too. So Allegra and I will both be there too for both of the days, and we can talk to people about inclusion journey mapping and any questions that they have. Generally talk to people about things that they can do and actions they can take.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I could talk to you forever. Caroline said you were awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Now, before we say goodbye, I'm just going to quickly give Aaron and Johan a shout out for next week. So they're my guests next week. Mo, you've been absolutely fantastic. I've got one question for you to end the show. What are you most looking forward to about Accountex?
I know, the wellness bit. The thing that Caroline was just talking about. I'm definitely going there to see that, because it's a busy show. 2 days on your feet. I'm going to make sure I go there.
Yeah, it is. And are you going to pop around to the LinkedIn lounge to say hello to the guy in the yellow t-shirt? Okay, you make sure you come in.
Yeah.
Mo, thanks ever so much indeed for being on the show today. Thank you to everybody for watching. Don't forget to go in the show notes, and we will see you at Accountex in a few weeks' time. Cheerio, Mo.
Bye.
You get out what you put in, never gonna